We might be expecting a few more ladies, and we're going to be live very soon on YouTube, so I'm going to not speak. We might be expecting a few more. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Helenique Argeru, and I'm presenting to you today a very exciting masterclass with Dr. Sarah Langley. Dr. Sarah Renee Langley is an accomplished leadership development executive coaching expert. She also works in life coaching, career development coaching, and public speaking. And tonight she is gracing us with her wonderful presence, a very vivacious, charismatic energy that really helps most of us put in place what is really important when it comes to self-development, but also the responsibility that it takes to really look at what we can do to live a more optimal life. And her area of expertise is leadership, and she works in different capacities to help women work with their leadership and manage their stress and really eliminate fear and anxiety. She really teaches us how to take charge of our life and prepare for our next move. After using an accelerated strength and evidence-based lead method, she assists us to really look more at our innate confidence, get prepared, and really look at what we need to be doing for the time ahead. At the moment, we are in such turbulent times, lots of decisions that we need to be making. And of course, when we look at our future and the future of our health specifically, we realize that there are very specific things we need to start reconsidering, rearranging in the way that we take up our power and make decisions. And so Dr. Sarah Langley tonight's going to help us with that, because she's teaching us how to go beyond the limits, the things that we feel comfortable with, the comfort zone that we hang out in. We need to really move past these kind of limits that we have. And so tonight we're going to go into a deep dive around that. I'm very excited to welcome you here, Dr. Sarah Langley. Thank you so much for making the time, for being one of our thought leaders on revolutionizing the future of women's health.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Helenique, for your vision and that we're co-laboring and partnering. You know, we've been courting each other for a few years now, so I'm glad that we finally decided to say I do to one another and to be on your forum. So I do not ever take it lightly when anyone entrusts me with their care, especially with the audience that you serve. So I count it as an honor and a privilege to serve in this capacity. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you too for being here. I want people to know that I bumped into you accidentally, and what came from that is just a wonderful power partnership across the globe. And we will be enjoying working together for a long time, I hope. So welcome to everybody watching, everyone on YouTube. You're welcome to follow this video, watch us every Monday night. We have a new great thought leader showcasing their expertise with you. And tonight, Dr. Sarah Langley, you're going to be talking to us about limitlessness, how we go beyond our own limits. So please go ahead. We're really eager to hear you.
Excellent, excellent. So without further ado, I'm going to go right into starting into this. So let me know if you can see my screen. Now, typically when I'm doing a masterclass or a webinar, I usually just flow. I find that I can prepare, and I don't know if this is any of you out there or even on this panel, but I know that when I put something together and I put my heart and soul into it, by the time it's time to present it, usually it's nothing that I prepared. It's usually just something that comes from my heart and my mind. And so I do have this presentation. And if there's times that I may go off course, because I just like to discern and to assess and to really be in partnership and in alignment with what is needed at this time. So I'll go ahead and start. Helenique had already introduced me, and it's interesting that even after doing all the work that I've done for nearly 30 years in mental health, in leadership, in business, coaching, executive coaching, I still find myself having gone through a period of where I wasn't happy. I had all the connections in the world. I have been with so many different type of thought leaders, from Tony Robbins to Lisa Nichols to Les Brown to Jack Canfield. I studied under the greats. And I have created such a successful business in knowing how to be limitless. So I thought, even when it came time to everything that I have accomplished and had all the accolades and the praise, all the prestige and the fame, all the money, I still found myself being stuck. I wasn't happy. I wonder who is listening by the sound of my voice can attest to that. You can have all the fame, all the fortune, you can feel great, you can look great, you can smell great, you can have all the success, but still not feel happy. It's almost as if it's either or. We can be successful as women or happy as women, but it seems like we cannot have both. I was at a period where I felt I was broke. Even when I had created successful businesses, there was still a period where I felt broken inside. I felt broke, I was busted and disgusted. You know, life happens. We all have gone through a period of our lives in some form or fashion where we thought that we could not even make it out or overcome. I had so many problems that were stacked up against me in my pursuit of happiness and success that it almost got to a point that I didn't want to live anymore. And it got to a place that I, at the time, was a clinical psychotherapist. I was a therapist helping other people to fight for their lives, to live again, to find some type of meaning and purpose. But me being a therapist myself and thinking about wanting to end my own life, and I couldn't tell a soul. I was at a place where I just felt unfulfilled. Something was missing. I was in fact limited. So what had me to come before you? If I had all of those challenges and problems talking about how to help you to become limitless, but yet I was limited, how does that position me to share with you how to be limitless as a limitless leader? Let's go to the quote with Napoleon Hill. He said that the key to success is the pursuit of knowledge. I wanted to finish his quote though, of who you are. The key to success is the pursuit of knowledge of who you are, coming to know who you are, mind, body, and spirit. That's why I love this platform, this forum, with what Hellenique is doing, because of the fact that we're here to revolutionize women's health holistically, mind, body, and spirit. We have to get to a place to knowing who we are. The knowledge of who we are will put us at a place on a pathway of success, but also happiness as well. So yes, I was a thought leader, influencer, breakthrough healer, leaderpreneur. My superpower is strategy. I love helping women to put a strategy together, how to realign, to refocus, to repurpose on their desires, on their goals, on their meaning and their pursuit of happiness and success. This is where I, again, been able to be very accomplished, very happy and proud of my accomplishments. But it got to a place that I had to ask this question. I'm going to ask you right now. Do you know who you are? Having been in this industry of mental health and leadership for nearly 30 years, I have found in working with women, especially the overachievers, the peak performers, they still were at a place where they didn't know who they were. They thought that their identity was laced with their role as a mother, as a career woman, as a wife, as a friend. But still, in talking to them one-on-one, being raw and vulnerable, I asked them, well, do you really know who you are? Would you be surprised at the answer that they had given me? Who want to take a stab at it? They said no, they really didn't know who they were. I asked you, do you know who you are? Do you know, when you think about what you do for a living, when you think about happy in what you're doing, did you decide to do what you're doing right now because you were supposed to? Because it's a part of your lineage, because your parents, your grandmother, your great-grandparents have done the same thing. And so you felt that you had to continue on with that same legacy? Are you really happy with what you're doing, who you are? Why are you here today? What had you to decide to register for this masterclass? See, You have to understand that a leader may not have all the answers, but a leader definitely know how to ask the right questions. And I know that I'm talking to some powerful leaders today. So let me ask you this big question that I want you to ponder on right now. What is your why? In order for us to now move from being limited to limitless, we have to, again, go back to knowing who we really are beyond the title, the fame, the fortune, the power, the success. We have to come to know who we are, and it's connected to our why. These are some questions that I want you to reflect on as we continue with this masterclass throughout the day. Why do you exist? A lot of times, my clients would tell me that their why is their children, their husband, their significant other. I will dare say that I think it's beyond that, though. Again, a lot of times we tie our identity with our roles that we have acquired over time, as opposed to having to take the time to know who is Helena, who is Helenique, who is Sarah, who is Tanya, who is Joyce, who are you? Seriously, I really want to know what your why is. I'm nosy like that. I want you to take the time to really sit down and journal, write. I'm already giving you some juicy nuggets that's going to help you to be limitless already. Sometimes we have to put our thoughts on paper and not have it all in our minds where these thoughts are ruminating and going and circling around in our minds, and then it goes into our bodies, and then it's internalized because it has nowhere to go. And then we don't understand why we're depressed, why we're anxious, why we are grieving, why we are going through the emotions. We have to have an outlet and a channel for these thoughts, these feelings to go to. And why not have it constructive by writing it down? So I'm hoping that you are taking some great notes, or you have your journal and your paper, your pad, your pen, your pencil together. Or if you're like me, your Evernote, so that you can start asking yourself these hard questions so that you can get to your answer. Do you ever feel like you're limited? Do you feel like you're just basic? A lot of times, I'll see all these memes, these empowering, motivational memes that, as women in particular, will say, we're queens, and we should trade our CEO hats for crowns, and, take your place. But my goodness, it goes beyond just the physical representation of what a queen is or what royalty is, if in our hearts we don't really feel that way. And that's the conversation that we're going to have. What keeps you limited? Is it your way of thinking? Is it society, the way that we're taught as women, which I cannot wait to dig into or deep dive a little bit more into that later. Is it based on what we were taught as what women are supposed to be? Sugar and spice and everything nice. I've learned, Helenique, that women can be savage. And that does not associate or really ring true based on the image that we have been given as what we as women are supposed to be. And when I say savage, I mean that we are powerful beyond belief, that we are strong more than what anyone, even ourselves, give ourselves credit for. But feminine that embodies, that really have us to really embrace and appreciate our womanhood. But we first have to dare ask ourselves these questions. What keeps you limited? What keeps you basic? See, I understand, and I've learned early that greatness cannot flock with mediocrity. Mediocrity can't really flock with greatness. So you have to make a decision which one you're going to be. That will determine if you are limited or not. Let's see if we can take it up a notch. One thing I have learned as well, how do we amplify? I have usually time, another juicy nugget that I'll throw out there early on is I have time in prayer and meditation and affirmations. For me, to have moved from being limited to limitless, I had to now take time to come to know who is Sarah Renee Langley. Take the doctor. Who is Sarah Renee Langley? I dare ask you, who are you? Ask yourself that right now. Who am I? And if you find that you know that there is something in you, like a greatness that you have yet to tap into, and what is preventing you from taking it up a notch to that place of greatness and power? It is amazing. See, I'm the type of person, you can't go to the movies with me, or you can't chill with me and watch Netflix. Here's why. I always want to know the answer or the end of the story. I'm not the one to sit there and watch the whole thing. I'd rather know what is happening as soon as the credits roll, or as soon as they finish saying who all the stars are that's in the movie. I want to know what happened even before it started. And what I'm saying is, I like to know at the end, and I'm like a spoiler alert. It's like, if I know the answer, I'd rather give it. I'm trying my best to hold on and not give you everything right now, but I just can't help it. I tell you the truth. I realize that this whole thing, when it comes to imposter syndrome, who heard of that before? Imposter syndrome. A lot of times especially for women, we seem to struggle with that. I find that it's not so much of the imposter syndrome in terms of, comparing ourselves to one another, and we think that that person is better than ourselves. What I have found in my time of prayer and meditation, as I had to learn how to go from limited to limitless so that I can be before you today, I realized that this fake imposter syndrome is not so much of us feeling like we're not good enough. No, the problem really is we know that we're good enough. We know that we're powerful. We know that we can do anything and everything we put our minds to it. We have been through situations as women. Think of a time, go ahead and recount, a time when you thought that you did not know how you were going to make it through whatever it was that you made it through. But nevertheless, you did, because you had to tap within your greatness. You had to amplify yourself to be great, to handle that situation, to overcome it. So likewise, we have to learn how to apply it in every situation of our lives. But because, again, that image, the way that we've been programmed, what we've experienced in our upbringing, what we have associated and concluded of what women are supposed to be, we turn ourselves down. We now either press the button and turn ourselves off, and only at an emergency, if we need to turn ourselves on or turn ourselves all the way up, the only time that we actually be our real, powerfully authentic selves, our limitless selves. I dare challenge you today that I would rather for you to be limitless all the time, to be your great highest self all the time, despite of what you've been taught, what society says about women, what the images that you have. We want to have to replace those images from what you've known as what women are supposed to be to who you really are, so that you truly can be limitless. So I dare challenge you to take it up a notch. I already said it. Life, because life have impacted us, and because of our mindset, we have learned how to be limited. There's nothing outside of ourselves that's keeping us in being limited. It's really a choice. We choose to be limited. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. As I said, I had a lot of stuff happen to me. I had a lot of stuff happen to me. I didn't understand why. I used to think growing up that I had this dark cloud over my head. Whoever felt that way? I know I did. I always thought that, wow, either everything great happens to me at the same time, or everything bad happens to me at the same time. And I'm like, I don't know if you have seen this. It makes me think of this child movie or cartoon called Charlie Brown and Peanuts, where Charlie Brown had his friends and something was always going wrong with Charlie Brown. Oh my gosh. As a therapist, my heart broke for him. Now, he was around before my time, but if I had met him, I would have loved to have given him some type of therapy free, because I really wanted him to be happy. He always seemed to have a dark cloud over his head. And it got to a point that I started to relate. It's like, Charlie Brown, I feel your pain. I feel the same way. I have this dark cloud over my head and I feel so limited. And I didn't understand how to become limitless. Then it hit me. If you can imagine, have you ever had an idea that just pops up? You have that light bulb that, you know, you can see over your head, like it's illuminated, like, oh, now I know why I'm going through all that I'm going through. Now I get it. I didn't want to accept it, but now I understand why I'm going through what I'm going through. I understand why I had to go through all that hell and high water. I understand now why, you know, that person left me. I understand why that business deal fell through. I understand why my best friend, you know, stabbed me in the back. I understand why, like whatever it is, you can insert that. There's a reason for anything and everything that we go through. Or simply put, it helps us to become limitless. This word I'm going to use today is purpose. See, I said earlier, I asked you, what is your why? And a lot of times equate it based on our identity, on our role. It's because of our kids, our spouse, and it could be that. But if we were to go deeper, it really, your why is your purpose. And I find that what we go through plays part with our why. An example is I had a friend who had beat cancer. She was a 4-time breast cancer survivor. And she has this anointing now to be able to help other women who struggle or who has been diagnosed with breast cancer. She's able to really speak life into them. She's really able to encourage and to empower because she walked their shoes. Her purpose in life, even though she's a great global award-winning speaker, myself, she's diversity and inclusion coach. She does so many amazing things, but her whole brand is about being a warrior. And typically she's always associating what she's been through in terms of breast cancer with her speech, with her message of empowerment, of hope, of encouragement. She's able to help people specifically that have gone through what she's gone through to now still continue to live. And that God has the final say on their situation. I dare say to you, think about what you've gone through. Think about what you overcame. See if that has anything to do with your purpose, your why. I'm an open book. So I've been through a lot. I've been molested at 5. I've been in an abusive teen relationship at 13. Again, I've learned not to tell anything or to anyone because I didn't want to feel like I was to blame. Especially as women, growing up as little girls, you know, we don't want to be shamed. We don't want our parents to be disappointed in us. Come up with these conclusions in our head. And it's amazing how even at the age that we are, that we continue to think that same way as little girls. I will dare say that you may be the age that you are today, but chronologically you're the age that you are today. But whatever you've gone through at 5, at 13, at 18, a violation that may have happened, it doesn't have to be a violation or a rape. Nevertheless, something that has impacted you, it had you to now be stuck at that same age until you get healing, deliverance, inspiration, epiphany to now release you to be limitless. I've been through a lot. I've been through harassment, rape, abuse, you name it. And I'm 44 today. But yet I have a story to tell. That's the thing. A lot of times we think that it's based on our accolades or our roles or our titles or our degrees or our licenses or whatever that we have. It's really our story. It's really our story that connects us all, that really gets someone's attention. Wow, I've been through the same thing that Dr. Langley went through. I couldn't even tell that she went through that. And she's here today. She overcame. So if she was able to overcome that, I can too. You never know who's watching you, who's reading your story, even if you didn't tell anyone about what you've gone through. But the day that comes where you hear someone who is just like you, tell you their story, and you can relate and help that person through. I tell you the truth, that makes you limitless. So don't get stuck based on what has happened to you. It all played part with the perfect plan of your purpose, of your why, so that you can be limitless by being able to share your story, your message to the masses worldwide. What have you been through? Because again, know that that's your purpose, believe it or not. Your purpose speaks, when my purpose to speak gives you power. When you speak your voice, I've written a book called Speak Your Voice, Unmute Your Voice, Be Heard, Get Your Power Back. It was a riveting tale of what I've gone through, what I just shared with you, just in that little snippet. But I, of course, put it in a book to share how I was able to overcome, so that other women don't feel like they're by themselves suffering in silence because they think that their story doesn't measure up, or it's not as impactful, or it's not as something to share, as if it's like it's nothing that's going to help someone go through or overcome, or because of the fact that they may still be in the situation that they're in. But again, everything plays part for a reason. And it is high time for us to be in position as women to go from limited to limitless. And I tell you, when you discover your why, when you discover your purpose, when you realize and recognize that you are beyond your roles and titles, when you realize that you do have a story to share, and that you now position yourself to speak your voice, despite of ridicule, despite of fear of shame, despite of fear of loss, despite of fear of whatever it is, insert it there, that makes you limitless. You are authentically powerful, and it's high time for all of us to see your absolute greatness. So only when I decided to become limitless, this is when I became happy and successful. I realized that whatever was going on without or outside of myself, I didn't need to find the answers outside of myself. I had to find the answers within myself. I took the time to pay attention to, or give myself time to meditate, to pray, to affirm my beliefs about myself. I started to feel freedom, liberation, healing, deliverance, promise, purpose, transformation, power, and profits. Come on now. Many of us have businesses. So it's one thing to, to talk from this place, esoterically, about transformation, about, taking it to a level of greatness. But it's another on a humanistic plane, that if we are also, which I want to say here too, that if we want to now be whole and healed and complete and limitless, we will then see a difference in our profit, in our performance, in our productivity. A lot of times we're trying to change the behavior. Now, my background is cognitive behavioral, or a psychotherapist, if you will. So that means that I'm interested in how you think, because for me, my philosophy is the way that you think determine how you behave. We're always trying to change the behavior, and we want to give tactical, practical ways of, okay, 1, 2, 3 steps to launching your business, 1, 2, 3 steps to making 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures. But I find that when we come together at conferences, we network, and we do all the practical steps, they don't seem to last. And we're like, why? We paid all that money, traveled all around the world, took time out of our, our work, out of our family. We did all of that. And it only lasts for like a couple of days or a week at best of what we learned. Because the external aspects we were taken care of, but not the internal, not the mindset. Wealth is an idea in our minds. Money is energy. It's like when it comes to making money, making profits, and to sustain it. That's what's different between me and many other coaches out there, business coaches in particular, is that I have the ability to teach not just the external or the practical steps, but also the internal, changing your mindset. You have to think wealthy. You have to think success. You have to think limitless. You have to think and see yourself and be that person before it even translates on the external plane. So when you now become limitless, That whole thing that I said earlier about happiness and success is either or. No, it can be both. Because it's nothing like being able to, something that I call the 3 L's, to live, to live, to live life to the fullest on your own terms, to be at liberty, to be free, to do and to say whatever the heck it is that you want to do and say, unapologetically and guiltlessly. And agency, to be able to contribute, because as women, we love to contribute, we love to nurture, we love to help those along the way. That's part of our meaning and our purpose. We want to give of ourselves so that the next person don't go through what we've been through or have it even better than we did. So if you just follow those steps, first being able to identify who you are, what is your why, being able to take time to journal, being able to take time to affirm yourself, prayer time, meditation, give yourself that time, as opposed to giving your time to everything and everyone. How about yourself? Don't give the last bit of your time to yourself at the end of the day because you thought that that was the right thing to do. Again, that's how we've been programmed. And it's ever a wonder why we're so feeling limited. But rather, if we now decide to reprioritize, I will tell my clients how there's 3 things that I help them with, is to renew their shine, reclaim their time for themselves, and reprioritize their lives unapologetically and guiltlessly. When they can reposition themselves to make themselves top priority and make themselves first as women, that's a game changer. Because that's lead to the path of being limitless. So my question to you, what will it take for you to become limitless? This is what I've learned. This is what I've gone through that helped me to now be in position to be a limitless leader. My heart and my desire is to help you to become limitless based on, again, my story, because you too have a story. My job is to empower you to find the answers within yourself. As a therapist, my position was to not be a revolving door where the person is always coming back to me for the answer. But ladies, gentlemen, whoever's watching, we have the answer within ourselves. Our power lies within ourselves. Our limitlessness lies within ourselves. So if we can now take the time to start tapping into it and discover the imprisoned splendor of our limitlessness, our power, our authenticity, you will then see a difference behaviorally in your performance and your profit and your productivity. You'll have a different outlook and a different glow. People will say, wow, you seem different today, Tanya. You seem different today. Helena, what's going on today? I'm limitless today. I decided to be limitless. I want to leave you with 4 things. Now, this PowerPoint is very long. I try to cut it down as much as I can, but I definitely want to have a dialogue. I want to leave you with 4 things out of what I talked about. These are the most powerful nuggets that I can share with you on how to be limitless. True, tried and true from my heart. And I'm the type of person, I don't know about you, but I cry, meaning that as a therapist, have been being trained. Here's a secret, trade secret as far as like therapists. And I hope all my therapist colleagues and peers and friends don't be upset. We live as therapists to make you cry. We love seeing our clients cry. Here's why. Oh my gosh, feeling. There's a release. Tears speak when we're unable to. It opens the door for the right information, the right experiences, the right answers to come in. Whatever was blocking and keeping you limited based on your thinking, based on your programming, based on, society, based on whatever it was, based on what you've gone through, what you witnessed, what concluded. It's time for us to now uproot everything that have you to be stuck and limited. What you've gone through is for your benefit. Life is here to conspire with you, honestly. A lot of times we'll curse life We'll curse the darkness. And it's very easy right now, considering I'm in the States. It's very easy right now with all that has been going on, just in the country alone, let alone the world. But you have to now look at life through a limitless lens and find purpose, find opportunity, find the thing that will help you to now live, be at liberty, and to now create your legacy for up and coming leaders everywhere. So what's really going to help you to really get from being limited to limitless, you take the time to get to know who you are. You take the time to now make yourself a top priority. You take the time to now know that your identity and your role is not laced with your identity and vice versa. You're more than just your titles and your degrees, your licenses, and whatever else that you have. You're more than that. And it's time for you to amplify yourself and kick it up a notch so that you can walk in your limitless greatness. 4 things that you just have to do to help support that, because I said it earlier. It's one thing to do this. It's one thing to be limitless. It's one thing to be successful and happy at the same time. But my heart's desire is to teach you how to fish, not just be a revolving door, but to help you to see the answers within yourself. And it's about sustainability. I will tell my clients, anybody can start a job. Anybody can start a business. Anyone can start a business. They can turn their glorified hobbies into profit, into a business. But it's about being of that 10%, because 90% seem to fail in their businesses between 1 to 5 years. And the question is why? Well, they didn't think about sustaining it. I've been there because I didn't have the mindset as a business owner or a marketer or a saleswoman. I had a mindset of, because I'm a woman of color and I'm the first person in my family to actually own a business. That was as far as the success went for me, because I wanted to at least make my family proud that I'm the first of something, first to go to school, first to get my degree, first to start my business, first to own my home. But then once I attained those things, I didn't know how to keep them. I was limited in my mindset based on what I saw, based on what I was taught, based on what my examples were. I had to take the time to learn under other people who have been more successful than myself. That's another thing that you can do to help yourself to not be limited, to be around people who are greater and higher than you. Instead of you being the smartest person in the room, you may have heard that before. I used to be that because of ego. I wanted to be the smartest person in the room. I loved it. Until after a while, I wasn't growing. I was limited. I said, wow, I can't get anything any further from where I am with these people because I'm the smartest person in the room. And it got tiring and tiresome after a while, being the nucleus and everyone just sucking and draining you. And you can't expect to get that back. You can't expect to suck and drain everybody else because it's in the role and in the position that it is. You're the nucleus. I find that thing as women, because we are taught to be nurturers, and we're taught to put everybody first and make ourselves dead last. Lord have mercy. Can y'all tell the passion in my voice about that? I want to now change the narrative on that one. And I hope that this was helpful in changing your narrative, to have you to think. Because if I don't do anything else in this masterclass, the only thing I would love to do is have you to stop and think. My job is to disrupt the pattern, the rhythm, the cycle, so that you can now no longer plateau at being successful or wherever you are, to help you to now, I'm about to say the 4, actually, to help you to do 4 things. And this is the game changer. This is what's going to help to sustain your limitlessness. We say as easy as ABC. Here it's also easy as DCBA. DCBA. The first letter that's going to help you to now go from limitless and to sustain your limitlessness. D, decide. Make a decision. That sounds so simple, right? But nevertheless, that's powerful. We don't realize, because we're so familiar with our physical senses and not enough of our emotional senses, like our emotions are indicators and let us know how we're really thinking and feeling from a deeper level, from a subconscious state of mind. But we're so familiar with our physical senses for what we can see, what we can hear, what we can taste, because that's just what we're familiar with. We took the time with, and it was supplemented with our upbringing, our society, what we learned, what we witnessed, what we concluded. We don't put enough time to get to know who we really are from the emotional senses. And my point is that when we make a decision, we always made decisions, but we never paid attention to how do we get from point A to point B? How did I end up being with that guy? How did I end up being with that person? How did I end up being in this space? Whatever the question is, we made a decision. We sometimes want to be in a state of being a victim. We want to be a victim at times because it's convenient sometimes to just say, oh, I didn't know, I wasn't aware. But then we can't have it both ways in terms of wanting to be the victim, but then want to be the victor and say, well, look, I'm stronger than that and I'm powerful. And, I don't want to be seen as weak and vulnerable. And, I deserve that position and I deserve whatever it is that you feel like you deserve, but you cannot play both. You can't straddle the fence and be on both sides of the plane. You have to decide you're going to be a decision maker or a victim. And people who are limitless, they make decisions and they make it fast. So for you to be limitless and sustain your limitlessness, you have to start getting familiar with when you're making decisions. You have to just decide that you want to be limitless. You have to decide that you want to be powerful. You have to decide that you want to be, a 7-8 figure earner. You have to decide to be limitless. When you decide, you become. It's not about you becoming first and saying, okay, now I can say I'm limitless. No, you have to already be that. Again, just like we say, wealth is a mindset, it's an image in our minds, so is limitless. So D, decide. C, commit. Now I'm going to be funny. I used to have commitment issues. I'm single. A lot of times people thought that it was the men that I would date and say, well, they're not committed. No, it was me. I wasn't committed. I didn't want to commit. I used to have commitment issues. So again, I'm an open book. I like to confess things. It's good for the soul. But we have to learn how to commit to our lives, to our goals, to our dreams. It's one thing to say that this is what I aspire to become, or this is what I decide to do in my life. But if your heart is not fully in it, if you're not fully committed, interesting. What I dare encourage you to do is I encourage you and I dare you to put that same level of commitment that you do to your family, to your children, to your spouse, to your job, to your friends. Put that same level of commitment to yourself. See, here's the problem. We have learned psychologically or subconsciously, when we think it's chivalrous to make everybody first and make ourselves last, we're thinking like, well, that's what we're supposed to do. That's what women do. We put everybody first. We'll wait until, we're at the end of life for us to now enjoy our lives, the last few bits of our lives. But we have to wait until our children leave out the house or, and then it's back to our spouses and ourselves, if that is the case, if you have a spouse, or, we have to wait until everybody is secure and taken care of. It's like 20 something years of our lives. But we don't think that we can include ourselves in that same equation, that we can actually still also go after what we desire too, while everybody else are. But no, we put everyone first and make ourselves last, and not realizing subconsciously it's telling ourselves subconsciously that we are not good enough, that we're not important, that we are insignificant. Did you know that? We're thinking that it's chivalrous and this is what women do, this is what we're supposed to do, but we don't realize how subconsciously it's really telling us, and it's supporting and reinforcing those thoughts that we are not good enough, we're not worthy, we're not deserving. But if we take the time with that same level of energy and commitment to everyone else and put it for ourselves as well, you will see a world of difference. And you will have no problem unapologetically and guiltlessly, making yourself as a priority as well, especially top priority. When you learn to commit to your own desires and your dreams and your aspirations. These are the keys of being limitless. B, believe in yourself. I can't tell you how many times I have worked with the world who, again, have been so successful and powerful, great pioneers in their field, visionaries, luminaries, you name it, but yet they didn't believe in themselves enough. They was looking for other people to amen them, to affirm, to validate them. So they're suffering in silence and not even believing in their own capabilities. They're wanting everybody else to believe in them. But if even when people say, you know, it's interesting as women, we'll see each other and we dressed up and we'll say, oh, you know, Helena, you look so beautiful. And instead of her saying, oh, well, thank you so much, Dr. Sarah, she'll say, oh, no, but oh, your earrings, Dr. Sarah, is so beautiful. And I'll go back and say, oh, no, Helena, your hair is to die for. I just love your hair. And we're going back and forth and it's not landing the compliments.